My name is Ryan Earnhardt from CreativeSoundLab.tv, where audio recording is an art form. Well, for this week, we're doing a tour of the drums and the cymbals. It's been tons of tours, tons of stuff to talk about. Of course, it's not about the junk and the stuff. It's really trying to empower you. Either, hey, master the stuff that you have. When you buy, plan on mastering that equipment, respecting that equipment. That equipment could be in your studio for years and years to come. Hopefully it is, with the proper gear buying strategy. Plan to master that equipment. And then finally, resonate with what I use, maybe what you use. Maybe we use the same stuff. So it's really cool to see what other people are using and how they're using it to get different sounds and maybe different results. So for this, it's going to be on the drums. I have kind of some weird stuff. I have some, normal stuff. So my friend Caden is here. Thanks a lot, man. He's going to be helping me run the camera. So he's going to grab the camera and chase me around the room and check out the drums. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to check out some drums here in the live room. Really, all the drums are up high. So guitar amps are down low, mostly because of their weight. Drums, I have it arranged so that you can basically reach up with two hands and just kind of pop them on the top shelf here. Everything that I have, I've learned to really master the sound of. I kind of know the tuning, about where they like to be tuned, I should say. But I really know what each drum can do specifically and what the sound that it can produce. So if I have a goal in mind, I know exactly which ones I should be using to get that sound. And of course, I know how to use the room. The room itself is very much a part of the drum sound. So that always helps. But a little bit about the drums here that I use quite a bit. Kind of my go-to kits for a long time have been this Pearl Masters Studio. It's out of Birch. I'm not sure exactly the model number, but it's a late 90s Birch kit by Pearl. At the time, it was the best you could get. And it's been a great kit for just that perfect drum sound that doesn't sound too thuddy, it doesn't sound too ringy. The toms always sound, well, to be honest, it's kind of what drummers always want. They always want that full round sound out of the toms. I don't have to use any muffling on the toms whatsoever, and I use an ambassador head on it, and it always sounds like there's a little bit more muffling on it. So it's been a great kit. So about 16-year-old kid at this point. So it's been really good to me. Overall, it's a 22-inch kick, 18 deep. Then the toms are 10, 12, 14, 16. So 4 toms. By switching out the toms, you can easily change kind of the register of where stuff sits. You can go with the 12 and a 16, or you can go with the 10 and the 14. That's been a really cool method that I've used to quickly, depending on the project, change what kind of sound that I'm able to get. So that's that kit. I'll talk about snares in a second. The next kit that I use quite a bit is the 1970s, probably 75 or before, the Slingerland kit here. So this is actually 3-ply. And that's one of the ways I can date this kit. It's really, really thin shells. So about the shells are about the thickness of one of these tension rods. Okay, so very thin shells. And this is actually a third-party isolation kind of thing. And I also float the floor tom with its own isolation on little pads. And I've talked about this trick before. They're little microphone pads, but you float that, and there's no wrap on them. And they're basically hot rodded for like really great sustain. And they have a really, really cool character. These toms here can be some of the best toms for rock and roll stuff when you want a lot of really deep sustain. It's not necessarily, you could high tune them, I guess, but I've had really good success getting great sounds out of these toms. This kick is kind of a pain. It's a 24, and it only likes a certain amount of mics, a certain amount of tunings. I've tried putting like an old school thing of, doing a coated ambassador on the back with a felt. It just wasn't enough muffling. Whatever reason, it's got to have a Power Stroke 3 in the back, and all of a sudden it just livens up. You can actually hear a lot more of the character. I think with some bass drums, you have to have some muffling on that batter head, because it balances out some of the lows and some of the highs within the drum. And this actually sounds really great with that Power Stroke 3 head on it. So that's a Slingerland mid-70s kit. It actually still has the badge here on it, and this really just needs to be redone. It was poorly. This is not the original finish. It was poorly redone. I never got around to it. So half of it has like the wrap on it, so it just looks like it's like ripped off. But yeah, that's that kit. It's been a really cool kit for really cool vintage tones, and it pairs really well with the Premier snare, the Black Pearl Premier snare. Then I have a Tama. It's got to be. Let me show this light here. It's got to be some late 80s or something Tama. It sounds pretty good. This is what I use. And all my drumming tutorials on Drum Tech. I have a drum course I'm creating right now that I do a lot of it on this kit, because I want to teach from a perspective that is not from the perfect sounding drum kit, but from something that is kind of a common denominator on most engineers, most studios, most drummers would have something of this level where it's not a perfect sound every time, and you do have to do just a little bit of finessing to get a good sound. So a lot of my teaching comes off of this kit. It's just a stupid red color, which is not very cool, but maybe someday it'll be like the most amazing like collector's piece or something. But yeah, that's what I use that kit for. Pretty much square sizes, so they're just as deep as they are wide. 16 by 16, probably a 12 by 12. I don't know. But yeah, they don't offer much harmonic content. They sound good, don't get me wrong, but they have a fundamental pitch, and that's about it. So they definitely get the job done, but they don't have quite the high-end frequencies that some of these other kits may have. Then right next to it is a 20-inch Ludwig Standard. So there was a time where I had access to a Ludwig Super Classic kit, which is kind of like the Ringo kit, except it was a white marine pearl, and that was a 22 kick, 13 tom, 16 tom. Sounded phenomenal. And then the same friend that owns this kick drum also owns a Ludwig Standard kit. And basically I did a shootout. This is a really old video that I did a long, long time ago. That was a shootout between the Super Classics and the Ludwig Standard. And they're really, really close. One is, kind of marketed as the budget drum set. The other is basically the Ringo kit. But yeah, I've had both at a time in this studio, and it's been a lot of fun to really explore a lot of all those vintage tones and really learn what they can do. And so it's been a lot of fun. Then on the snare drums. This snare drum here, the Ludwig Superphonic, this was given to me when my dad bought the first drum set for me. The guy just threw this in. He said, "Oh, this is just laying in my garage. Why don't you just take this along?" And it was like a CB700 kit in like dark blue, and it wasn't very good. It was like for $350. But I learned how to play drums on it. And this was always something that I never really knew what to do with. It was like that weird hardware hanging off of it on both sides. And I had a drum kind of like this that I played a lot more. And this drum, I forgot about. I actually gave it to somebody. I'm like, well, I never use it. Like, just hold on to it for a while. It actually was like hanging out backstage for a while somewhere. And I'm like, dude, do you ever use that Superphonic drum? And he's like, no, I never play it. And I'll just go find it for you. So he went and found it and then shipped it back to me. And it was like this big reunion because it is a great drum. It's a great drum. And I just happened to remember getting it on the first day of my first drum set. It was something that doesn't travel well. You can't put it in a case. So it's the perfect studio snare. And, who knew that I'd have a studio someday besides just being a drummer. And I was able to find the snare drum, and the guy was like, yeah, you can just have it back. So he gave it back to me. It's been a great drum. It is modded with a die-cast head on it, but I think it sounds great. This is just a little piccolo drum, Maple, by Pearl. This is a Tama Swing Star. The shell is magnetic, so I'm assuming it's some sort of, maybe a COB or something. I don't even know, but it's very heavy, and the shell is magnetic, so, but it sounds good. It sounds great, actually. This is triple flange hoop on this one, die-cast triple flange on this one. They all have coated ambassadors. And then over here is a Premier drum, Olympic, I believe. Yeah, Olympic. Triple flange, Remo ambassador, and mahogany. And it sounds great. It's a really nice fit with that Slingerland kit. Really, really gooey. Really, really good tone. And it has a really cool variation of rim shot. So you can do like a half rim shot on it, and it just has a really, really thick sound. Okay, so cymbal wise, what I like to do a lot is use K-Custom. I have probably 3 K-Customs, I guess. So I have the K-Custom Dark Ride, the K-Custom Dark Crash. I actually had 2 crashes, and I traded it for one of the rides that I have, so maybe it's just 2. But that's a lot of the cymbal sound, a lot of the silky sound. If you can ever invest in just one good cymbal, it'll take you very far in your drum sound, because now the high end is just so much more smoother than using something like a budget end cymbal. So all the sustain of your drums will just be nice, silky. You can be compressing it, get some pumping going, and it'll be that good silky sustain. Evolution Crash by Sabian HHX. New Beats for hi-hats, 14 inches. I actually traded a pair of Ks for these because I had these Master Sound Ks that were so loud. They were just ridiculous, and it just weren't even usable. So I just wanted them gone. I wanted something standard. I didn't have any cash to really spend on anything, so I found somebody locally that just had a pair, and I said, okay, good, let's do it. Then over here, I have something really cool. This is a pair of 13-inch... the guy called them New Beats, just like those over there before they were called New Beats, but they're from the 60s. They're really thin, perfect for funk and jazz. They are kind of a high pitch, but they're really, really nice. Really thin cymbals. I bought them from the guy that owned them originally, and I said, well, how do you know the age of them? And he said, well, because I've had these since I've been a kid, and the dude's like 65. So I said, okay, good enough for me, and went ahead and bought them. So these are the real deal. Sometime in the 60s here, and then I have a Paiste 2002, a medium ride. It's got a crack in it, but it sounds great. It really does. It's a really good cymbals, deeper than the dark K-Custom Darks. It's got that deeper sound, but that higher end sound at the same time. It's got that kind of scooped sound that they're known for. So yeah, great cymbal, great bell. I've seen a lot of good use. K Ride, not a whole lot of description on that. I believe it's called something else at this point, but it's a thicker cymbal. Use anything, pretty much rock based. I wish it was a little more complex sounding. I think this is like the regular K instead of the K Custom. At one point, I didn't even know if I liked this cymbal anymore, but it's got its use. And Crash of Doom, Oriental Crash of Doom. This thing is actually really cool. The biggest kind of, you probably have seen these if you watch Questlove ever play. He'll usually stack maybe an 18-inch Crash of Doom on top of a cymbal and use that for kind of a noise, white noise kind of thing. But yeah, Crash of Doom, it sounds really cool at low volumes. It starts to sound less and less unique at high volumes. So a really cool cymbal for low volumes. And that's really all about the drums. Of course, there's random hardware and pedals and stuff like that. And I have a box of just completely useless percussion stuff, tambourines, claves, just stuff that really never sees the light of day. And so I don't know why I have some of that stuff. Chimes. I mean, seriously, why do I have chimes? So it's not even in the live room. I just throw that in a storage closet, and maybe about once a year I have to pull it out. But that's really kind of the tour of all the drum stuff. Okay, that was just a little bit about the drums here. Obviously, I do a lot of drum recording, and to be honest, there's studios that have a lot more drums than I do. But I'm able to get a lot of different tunings. I know all the drums fairly well, and therefore I have a lot of confidence in what each drum can do. I can work pretty quickly to get good results. That's ultimately the right goal, right? Is to not be distracted by all the different options, but to work quickly and get great results that people are happy with. I'll see you next week.